Hello, everybody. Road Warrior 627 here, and welcome back to another Thoroughbred Racing preview. And this is the biggest one of the year. It is the hometown race, our hometown race, the Belmont Stakes. My favorite race every year. Not really anymore. Now it's pretty much any turf race that Chad and Christoph are in. But we're still going to make the most of it. There's some weather in the forecast. I don't really think it matters too much because the track will dry out by Saturday, and Saturday's just supposed to have showers, and it's not going to change my opinions either way. Now, this is the first of a series of 4 videos we're going to have for the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival on this channel. The first one is this Belmont Stakes video. This should be coming out the night of Tuesday, June the 7th. Also coming out tonight should be the preview for Thursday. On Wednesday, June the 8th, we'll have the preview for Friday, June 10th. And on Saturday, we'll have the 13 race extravaganza preview for Saturday, June 11th. But we're going to start here with just the feature on Saturday, which is the Belmont. Anybody that follows me on Twitter knows who I'm picking. They know it hasn't changed. So I have almost nothing to say in this race. Therefore, I need guests. And this time, I'm gonna introduce our guests in the order that they're gonna talk. When we talk about each horse, there will be links down in the description, timestamps to each horse. So, we're gonna start off with Jack Sargent of Racing Rundown, who just attended the Belmont Stakes post-draw today. I didn't even ask you, did anything interesting happen there?
No, nothing interesting happened there, really. It was kind of fun. A few horses' connections just didn't show up. The Barber Road people and the Golden Glider people weren't really there. Aside from that, I mean, nothing else really extraordinary. If you were watching it live, you saw some of the comments that everybody made. I mean, everybody kind of just seemed like no one was really holding their cards close to their chest, but just kind of a typical racing thing. It was a very low energy thing, which kind of epitomizes the whole Belmont in general. I think that this is a more interesting race than I might have thought it was going to be 2.5 weeks ago, but I am still a little bit underwhelmed with the group of horses that we have together. But all things considered, I am very glad to be back on the show with you, Andrew, and obviously always appreciate the invitation.
Well, you're always welcome. Of course, all you guys are. But up next, we've got Sammy Roseman, who's been on more of these things than anyone could possibly count. Sammy, how you doing?
Good. Doing good. Ready to pick some more winners.
A new special guest of the channel who was introduced to me by the fourth guest, who you'll hear from in a second. But first, we've got Jalen. Jalen, how you doing tonight?
Very good, very good. Hoping hoping this will be a big weekend with all the stakes races on tab.
It will be a big weekend, and I'm sure NYRA is very excited about all the handle they're going to have, because at the end of the day, if handle is up, who cares about everything else, right? You're supposed to laugh. And that second laugh was coming from Dennis Trusty, who came back for the Preakness preview 3 weeks ago. And it's great to have you back, Dennis. Great to have you back again.
Yeah, great to be here. I'm glad you saved the worst for last. That's a good thing. Uh, well, I'm at least more excited for this race than I am the Preakness. The Preakness was kind of just meh. It turned out to be kind of meh. And I think the card for Belmont, normally it's better than what it is this year, but I think it's still going to be some great racing. I think we'll learn a whole lot about horses to look forward to this summer and moving into the Breeders' Cup and stuff like that. But thanks for having me again, as always.
Of course, and the thing about the Belmont Stakes card, and again, we're going to have a video on this in a couple of days, all 13 races. But the Belmont card this year, the stakes races are largely underwhelming in terms of number. That doesn't mean they're underwhelming in terms of quality. There's a lot of short fields where almost anybody can win. And even a race like the Met Mile outside the top two, you have some pretty familiar names there too. But we'll get there. We're going to talk about the Belmont, which I find it maybe a little slightly more interesting than the Preakness, not in terms of who I'm picking, because I'm dead sold in here, but I do think there's, I guess, more possibilities. The Preakness was kind of billed by many people, including me, as a two-horse race, and that's pretty much what happened. And I was happy to say, quick plug, that was my first exacta in a Triple Crown race, ice cold in a while, so I was very happy to get that. But there's no Chad in here, so we got to go somewhere else. We're going to go in order of the horses. Number 1, I found this surprising. We the People is the morning line favorite after his 10-length romp in the Peter Pan that I got to see in person. So we're going to start here with Jack, who said he has a lot to say about number 1, We the People.
And I'm going to start off by joining the boat with Andrew. I was surprised that We the People was installed as the favorite of this race. A couple hours ago on Racing Rundown, I did a preview of this race with Jay Privman from DRF, and he said that he wasn't surprised by this just because of the big fact that We the People, and we'll get into the big elephant in the room with We the People. He is the controlling speed in this race, and I think that if we're looking at it in terms of how this race is going to be bet, it's certainly possible that folks are going to look at that and say, okay, well, We the People is going to be the controlling speed in the Belmont, so might as well play him. Now, as everybody knows, the big thing with the Belmont every year is the pedigree. Is X horse going to be able to get a mile and a half? And I'm going to try not to lose people with this too much, but I'm going to go a little bit into the pedigree for We the People. Now, I got to give credit to my co-host Eric, because he did this on Racing Rundown after the Peter Pan, when we both kind of rolled our eyes at the We the People immediate hype for the Belmont. But obviously he's coming out of a career best effort in the Peter Pan. That was a 10-length romp, I think it was, over the sloppy surface here or at Belmont Park. So obviously the Peter Pan has been a traditional prep for the Belmont. It hasn't produced as many winners as you might think. But We the People certainly does have it in his corner that he is going to be the controlling speed. Now, I want to get now into the pedigree. We the People's by constitution out of the Tisnow mare Letchworth. That is the same cross that produced the 2020 Belmont Stakes winner, Tis the Law. And I've seen a lot of people in many different circles talking about how We the People looks really good because he had the win obviously over the surface and it was very impressive, all that fun stuff. But I've also seen a lot of talk about how the pedigree is there for We the People. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. Constitution is from the fabled Tappet line. However, Constitution isn't exactly the kind of Tappet that you think is that you think of out there that's constantly throwing horses that can go long distances. So getting into one more thing with him, going up the dam side of the pedigree, Letchworth mare Harmony Lodge, who was a Grade 1 winner sprinting for Todd Pletcher back in the early 2000s. Letchworth has been a very good dam in her career. She's produced some runners, but Letchworth's best offspring was a horse by the name of Stratford Hill, who's was interestingly by AP Indy. And his best career race came in the 5.5 furlong Shakertown Stakes, turf sprinting at Keeneland, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you think of AP Indy. AP Indy is not a horse you think of as someone who's siring a stakes winner turf sprinting. But the pedigree is very sprinty outside of Constitution. And Constitution, you take out Tis the Law. Most of his horses have been better going a one-turn mile to a mile and an eighth. American Revolution, one of his other Grade 1 winners, Cigar Mile winner last year, he has been better seemingly doing that mile to a mile and an eighth. Independence Hall was a horse who never wanted to go that much farther. Laura's Light was a turf horse in 2020. She was also another one that was kind of iffy getting up to the longer distances. So again, I tried not to lose people too much with this, but outside of Constitution and that Tappet line, there's really no indication that We the People is going to get the mile and a half in this race. And as I laid out, Constitution isn't necessarily the mile and a half sire that it might be indicated by him being from the Tappet line. So that is why I'm against We the People here. But I have to concede, lone speed, controlling speed, it might be difficult to run by him because the race is going to be absolutely handed to him.
Good luck following that one up, Sammy.
That's what I was just about to say.
I mean, when when my buddy sent me the post positions, it was surprising to see him favorite because I was expecting Donegal to be favorite, which I still think he goes off favorite. I do. I mean, We the People is going to be controlling speed, but there's no way, in my opinion, they're going to let him walk. And if they do, okay, you let him walk. They have 3 furlongs to catch him in the stretch. Mo Donegal's already caught early voting in the stretch. He could absolutely catch We the People. Strike already caught Zandon and Epicenter and all of them. And Rich Strike's been working faster, meaning he's probably going to be closer because they've already said he's going to be closer. So he's going to be up there. Creative Minister probably a little bit. And then Ness hard to judge about her speed because it's against the fillies. But, I mean, it depends what Jose and Todd want to do there. I mean, you can't, like Jack said, you can't disregard We the People, but I don't know. I like others. But he's one that you have to use in this race, obviously.
Jalen, it's your turn.
All right. For me, I think We the People is my pick right now. I think he's the lone speed, which everybody has touched on. I mean, everybody knows it. It's the elephant in the room, like Jack said. He is the lone speed. I think he will walk up there. If they do decide, I think the most likely horse to send and go after him would probably be Nest, who I don't think, even at her best, is quick enough to, stay with We the People if he goes his normal speed. I mean, he has the pedigree to route, but I don't think 1.5 miles. I think, like Jack said also, I think 1.1 miles to 1.25 miles is what he wants. But I think because he is the lone speed, who knows, he might be able to walk out there and survive that last quarter. That last quarter mile is going to be crucial for him. He, so far in how he's been training, in the Peter Pan, it seems like he really likes the track, which is always good. He's number 1, he doesn't have any horses inside of him. That'll be great. The post. He's got Flavian Pratt. That's always a plus for any horse. I mean, some of the things that are questionable to me is his price. He is the morning line favorite, 2-1. I don't know if I really like that. And then also with Brissett, I do kind of question Brissett's ability to train horse to win the classics, especially horse like We the People. And I'm going to be honest here. I think that if Mo Donegal came to him in the stretch, I think he could put Mo Donegal away. But if horses came with multiple attempts, I don't know about that. So this horse, he is going to be very interesting. I think the opening quarter and the last quarter is going to be the deciding factor for this horse. But I really think he can do it just with him being the lone speed. I think he can walk out there and just take him gate to wire.
That's my cue, I guess. For me, with We the People, what hasn't been touched on is basically I question the horse's class. In the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, I mean, the horse didn't even get the lead, didn't come close to getting the lead, and I know it was like super quick up front, and I know there's a ton of closers in here, but these closers have been training to be closer up now for the past, 5 weeks. So, I guess with that said, it's not a question of if he's going to slow the fractions down. I think it's going to be a question of if he's good enough to quicken it up towards the end. And I think it's also, too, I don't like that he's going to get the distance. That's been touched upon end over end here. So, but I could still throw him on top and just in case as a saver bet, because if he does go out there in 51 and change, well, nobody's catching him. So it's definitely a saver bet situation. But, yeah. So I guess on to Skippy, right, Andrew?
Well, I do have a couple of things to say about We the People.
No one cares.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I picked him in the Arkansas Derby off of those first 2 races because I like horses that step up after a couple of wins. That's why I took him, and I thought he would be a good price. He did not turn out to be a good price, and he absolutely shit the bed in there, for lack of a better word. Ran a horrible race. When he came back in the Peter Pan, I boxed him with Electability and Brissett's other horse, Western River, who I thought might be running in this race. Originally, he is not, obviously, as you could see from the entries. The Peter Pan, I was there. It was impressive to a degree. He beat Golden Glider and Electability by 10 lengths. Electability is a horse I love. He made me a lot of money on Gotham Day in the second race. He is nowhere near a Mo Donegal or even a Rich Strike. So I don't care that he beat him by 10. To me, that means nothing. I would say the most important thing is he has a race over the racetrack that was pretty good and got a pretty fast figure in doing so, as much as I've been straying away from figures lately. That time of 148-1 was no joke that day. The track was a little bit on the slower side on May 14th. I can personally vouch for that to be true. The problem with We the People is I just don't think he's good enough. I think that Mo Donegal is better than him, and I think Rich Strike is better than him. I need to see, just like what I said in the Preakness with Creative Minister, I need to see this horse tackle the best first. And I'm not all about the graded stakes races, grade 1, grade 2s, because I hate the American Graded Stakes Committee. But this is a grade 2 horse, in my opinion, because the Peter Pan should be a grade 2, that's facing real grade 1 horses. And yeah, I think Mo Donegal's a grade 1 horse. So I think he's going to go out there. I think he might get everything his own way. I think he's still going to get run down. I like what Jack did. All that pedigree research just makes me feel even better about that. I'm going to pick him second for the sole fact that I don't think there's a lot of closers in here that are going to have an impact outside of a couple. I think he holds off Rich Strike. I don't think he holds off Mo Donegal. Number 2, Skippylongstocking. I picked this horse to run 4th in the Preakness and clunk up. Instead, he clunked up for 5th. He finished okay in the Wood Memorial, as we talked about 3 weeks ago. I don't see how he wins this race or even gets close.
Yeah, if you remember back to 3 weeks ago, he was my complete reach horse to hit the board in the Preakness, and that absolutely did not happen. He's a plotter. He needs a pace to close into. He's absolutely not going to get that. He'll probably run 5th again in the Belmont, and he'll be crawling down the stretch as everybody else is crawling. I don't really see a reason he can run better than 5th in this race. He doesn't really have anything in terms of class coming in here, and obviously that effort in the Preakness, he plotted home there. He's going to plot home in the Belmont. If you could bet horses to run 5th, I'd bet him to run 5th. But outside of that, there's not really a whole lot to Skippylongstocking in this race, other than he fills a post position.
I mean, I mostly agree with Jack. And people are gonna. I mean, he had a little bit of traffic trouble in the Preakness, but it didn't really affect anything. I mean, there's nothing. Maybe he could show a little bit of early speed that he has in the past, but it's not gonna outrun We the People early.
Yeah, I mean, last night I made notes on some of the horses going into the race that I thought I could make a reason for them to win. I didn't write anything for Skippy. I mean, I don't know anything about his pedigree or his past performances. This horse is just here to fill a gate. I mean, I saw him in the Wood. I saw him in the Preakness. There's no reason for him to be here.
Well, alright, so it's my job to say something nice about the horse. Okay, so the horse will always run the same race that he will run, no matter if he goes 4 miles or 5.5 furlongs. You can get a check in every single race. He's not going to win. He's not going to... If you play and you're crazy, you might be able to use him in the Super for 4th. At that point, you might as well just take all. And I guess the only good thing I could say about the horse is the horse will make a lot of money running 5th and 4th.
I agree. Let's move on to number 3, and I believe number 3 is the Philly Nest. Yes, it is. It is one of 2 Todd Pletcher horses in here. You know she's a damn good filly. You know she ran very well in the Oaks. You know about the three race. Wow, I sound like Elmer Fudd right now. You know about the 3 race win streak before the Oaks. She lost to a nice filly in Secret Oath. Does she have the class to win the Belmont? Or, I bet you Jack is going to talk about, does she have the pedigree to win the Belmont? In fact, he made a whole video about it.
Yes, and I appreciate the plug to my Nest video. So I'm not going to go too much in depth on that. If you're interested to get my full thoughts on what I did in that video, is I took Nest, I looked at her, and I compared her to the other 6 fillies that have run in the Belmont Stakes in modern times. And Nest is, I'm going to start right off on the bat. The question was kind of alluded to a little bit. Does she have the pedigree? Absolutely, she has the pedigree for this race. She's the best bred horse in this race. I've been kind of going back and forth on she may have the best pedigree. No, she is the best bred horse in this race to get the 1.5 mile distance here. She's by Curlin out of the dam Marion Ravenwood. Marion Ravenwood has produced a Grade 1 winner, Idol, going 1.25 miles in the Big Cap, and Big Cap last year. And Idol is a horse that is 1.25 miles at a minimum for him. I believe he won an allowance race at Churchill going 1 mile and 3/16, but a minimum 1.25 miles is what Idol needs to do in his races. So the pedigree is absolutely there for her. The class is honestly there too. I mean, she ran good behind Secret Oath in the Kentucky Oaks, and I have very, very much flip-flopped on the Kentucky Oaks and how I view that race. Once again, I'm going to reference the conversation I had with Jay Pribman today. The thing I was a little bit concerned about with her is she lost to Secret Oath, and I didn't think Secret Oath really had too many excuses in the Preakness. And Jay disagreed with me on that. He thought that Secret Oath didn't get that good of a trip there, and that's 6 1/2 dozen the other. With that, I'm not really going to get too much into that, but you look at the Preakness, and the top 2, in the Preakness are 1-3 in my opinion in terms of 3-year-olds. Epicenter 1, early voting number 3. We'll get to who I think number 2 is a little bit later because he is in this race. Spoiler alert, but that there is something to be said about that. That Secret Oath ran in the Preakness with the 2 best 3-year-old colts, and she was 4th in there with, I guess you could say, just a tad bit of trouble here. There is certainly not an epicenter, and there is certainly not an early voting in this race. So Nest has that in her corner. The other thing that I really like about Nest is I think she's going to sit that second flight stalking trip that has produced so many Belmont winners throughout the year. I was hoping for the last 3 weeks that Pletcher was going to drop someone else besides Nest in this race, because I think she's going to get played a bit, and I'll get to whether or not I think she has the ability to beat the boys here, but she is going to sit the second flight. The most recent horse that I can compare the trip that I think she'll sit to is Tappert. She's going to sit the Tappert trip in this Belmont, and that trip has produced so many Belmont winners through the year. So if I didn't have to ask, I don't mean to sound sexist here, but if I didn't have to ask the can she beat the boys question, I'd pick Nest in a heartbeat, because she's going to get the trip. She's absolutely bred to do it. But you do have to ask the question, is she good enough to beat the boys here? I think she's good enough to beat everyone except for her stablemate, Mo Donegal. And, maybe Rich Strike. I'm still a little bit confused on how I should read the Kentucky Derby. But I think Nest is going to run in top 3 in this race. I said that in my racing rundown video on her. She's going to hit the board. And historical note here, there have been 6 fillies in modern times since 1980 that have run in the Belmont Stakes. They're 1 for 6, obviously the one winner being Rags to Riches, and Rags to Riches was infinitely bred to get the 1.5 miles. But the other 2 fillies that hit the board, My Flag and Genuine Risk in the Belmont. My Flag was 3rd, Genuine Risk was 2nd. They were both bred to get the 1.5 miles. The 3 fillies that missed the board, Winning Colors, Day, and Unlimited Budget, they were not bred to get the 1.5 miles, and they ran like they were not bred to get the 1.5 miles. And obviously with Winning Colors, she also had the drama that happened with her in the Preakness and getting rabbited there, and I don't think she should have run in the Belmont, but that's 30. We're not going to handicap stuff that happened 34 years ago. Point being is Nest is going to run well in this race because she's going to get the distance. She's better than most of the boys in this race, so she'll hit the board. Maybe I'll put her 3rd or 2nd. I'm not sure yet. I haven't worked that out yet, but she's going to run well in this race.
Nest is the one I've been considering picking, but Jack says you have the question: can she beat the boys? I mean, after that, she was my Kentucky Oaks pick. I mean, she was never. I think I had to wait a little bit too, and he a little bit too wide, but it didn't make a difference because Secret Oath was much the best horse that day. She obviously wants the mile and a half. We've been knowing that for a while. You get Jose Ortiz up. I mean, just look at what Jose Ortiz has been doing recently. He's been on fire, especially in that Preakness. He gave a beautiful ride. I mean, is she going to show a little bit of speed? She's going to sit right off. I mean, you're not going to get 8-1. You'll probably get around. What do you guys think? 5-6-1, probably in that range. I would guess
6,
I
7.
think she'll be shorter than that. I think she'll be a bit shorter, honestly.
I don't think you get that. There's no way you get 8-1. I mean, but she got to beat some horses. She got to be Red Strike, who's probably gonna end up being my top pick. We'll get onto that later. Mo Donegal, obviously, you got to respect him, and we're just gonna have to see. That's my opinion on her.
Yeah. So, Nest, the biggest question for me is, can she beat the boys? And with her pedigree and past performances, I mean, she fires every time. She tries hard every time. She's bred for the distance. The one thing that concerns me about her going with the boys is the Kentucky Oaks, when she was second to Secret Oath. Secret Oath, both times against the boys, has been 4. She had, in both times, all of her supporters have said traffic trouble, which, yeah, it's true. In the Arkansas Derby, she got in pretty bad traffic trouble. In the Preakness, she had a little bit, not too bad. But, I mean, in the Preakness, Epicenter, he was back there with her. He got traffic trouble, too, and he still ran better than her. Secret Oath, I think, cannot run with the boys. So Nest is one that I don't really know what to do with. I think she's going to be making the first move on We the People. I think if someone's going to go try to run with him early, it's going to be her. And I think she might be able to hold it for the mile and a half. She's bred for it. It depends on if she goes with We the People or if she's going to take back, second, third, fourth, just stalking position. But she is going to be the one to make the first move on We the People. And she's bred for it. I think she can sustain a move down the stretch. And I think she will be top 3.
I guess some positives and negatives with Nest. I guess some of the positives are getting the other Pletcher at a higher odds, and it's Jose Ortiz who, I mean, let me be honest, Jose Ortiz might be one of the top jockeys to have in the Belmont Stakes. Like, maybe ever, whenever it's all said and done with his career. Some issues I'm having with her is, one, like we've already said, beating the boys and all that other stuff. But there's no other horse on paper, not talking training, not talking what they've said, on paper that's going to go with We the People. She could only be in this race for being a rabbit, and that kind of concerns me. I think that it's either look, this horse is going to run a monster race and she might even win it by like 5, or she's going to be last. I mean, I think that it's going to be one of the two, and I don't know if I really want to be there for it whenever it happens, as far as the bettor is concerned. But, I don't hate the picks here. I don't hate Jack's thoughts because the pedigree is there. It's just, I don't know what she's going to do, and that kind of makes me worried. But you will get the value on there. I think 6-1 will be her price. I think you could flip Creative Minister and Aston the odds, but and that's why I don't want to take another chance with 6-1 shot with her versus one of the other horses.
All right, so here's my thoughts.
Can I just add one more thing? Andrew?
Go ahead, Jack.
I do just want to say one more thing. I have been, and I don't know how many times we talked about this on Racing Rundown, but I have also said on several occasions that paraphrasing, obviously, but I have said a filly may never win the Belmont again. And I generally tend to look at fillies being able to win Triple Crown races as these horses need to be absolutely otherworldly to be able to beat horses. And the Belmont, there's not a whole lot of sample size for the Belmont. So I can't say 100% that that's the case for the Belmont. But I guess if we're going to pour a little bit of cold water on the Nest hot takes, and I don't know that you can necessarily say these are boiling hot takes, but if we're going to pour a little bit of cold water on that, you have to ask yourself the question, is she the type of otherworldly talent that she could beat the boy? And again, this is kind of along the same thoughts, but is she that otherworldly talent that it requires for a filly to be able to beat the boys in a Triple Crown race? That's the question that I think anyone should ask themselves if they're going to pick Nest to win in this race.
All right, and with that, I'm going to get on to my thoughts real quick here with Nest. You would think on the surface she lost to Secret Oath. Secret Oath lost in the Preakness significantly to Early Voting. Early Voting got beat by Mo Donegal. How can I like Nest at all? Well, the reason why I like Nest a little bit, I'm going to pick her fourth in this race, is very simple. Outside of her and the top three, everybody else in here sucks. I don't see how she misses the Super. Creative Minister, to me, is the one you can say maybe if he just improves beyond, if he just improves so much, because he's still developing, that if he takes that massive step forward, he can have an impact in here. But besides the first three and him, which I don't expect that to happen, who else is in here? And she's also got one other thing that's very important in the Belmont Stakes. Todd. She's got Todd. I trust Todd more than anybody else to get horses ready for the Belmont. And what Jack said is what I thought about too. Let's talk about the stalkers. I could name you 4 Belmont winners in a row that were stalkers in that first flight. Ruler on Ice. What the hell was Union Rags, Palace Malice, and Tonalist were all within 5 lengths of the lead, stalking. That's 4 years in a row. Taprit was another one. And you could say maybe Essential Quality. He was a little bit further back, and I just think he was very good. But you could see the number of stalking horses that win the Belmont. It's because in a 1.5 mile race, you really don't have the chance to come with that late acceleration. It's more, if you get to that spot first, chances are it's going to help you. Not making a real quiet move or a Smarty Jones move, accelerating so fast at a stupid point in the race, whether that be at the 7 furlong pole or at the 3/8 pole, just making a crazy move. No, you gradually make your move, but you put yourself in a forward position to do it. That's what wins the Belmont. Nest will have that. The problem is, I just don't think she's good enough. And for the reasons I talked about with her getting beat by the other horses, I want to see her prove it first. I was very impressed by her Ashland. I'm going to need to see something like that again for me to really believe in her. Not that kind of performance, but if she beats these horses, I'll be impressed. I did pick her fourth. Now we're going to move on to Rich Strike, who was the Derby winner, who made me feel less bad because I would have been pissed off if Zandon hung just behind Epicenter and nobody else beat both of them. So his win actually softened the blow for me a little bit. This horse, I mean, he never had a race on dirt that was good enough, except for that first race. Churchill with that race wasn't good enough. My one concern about him is the Derby, he had all that acceleration. There's an incredible amount of acceleration. It was just amazing. And we talk about the ride, too. The ride was really good. I'm a little bit scared he might be a Churchill Downs horse. Just because, well, look at the form. But I'm not going to say that's the entire reason I don't like him. We're going to hear from everybody else first, and I'll give my closing thoughts on Rich Strike.
So I'll lead off once again, and if you're a listener of Racing Rundown, I'm not going to, dunk on it too much, but you know what I had to say about Rich Strike leading up into the Kentucky Derby. I liked him going in there. Do I like him going into the Belmont? But I'm going to go off on another small tangent here on what I think is the most overrated angle in handicapping, and it's the workouts. And everybody has been talking about the workout that Rich Strike had on the 30th of May at Churchill and how he's primed for the Belmont and all that stuff. And I'm just going to be completely honest, I don't care. It was the same thing, the same workout, going 5 furlongs. He went a little bit faster, but he went 59-3 in his workout leading up to the Kentucky Derby. But pretty much the same thing, and nobody said a word about him Kentucky Derby because of that workout. And he had been working well going into the Derby. That was, in hindsight, everybody went back and said, oh crap, this horse had actually been working well going into the Kentucky Derby. But he's not better than he was going into the Kentucky Derby just because of that one workout. So be careful to say that he has gotten so much better than he was in the Derby, because it's pretty much the same that he was leading up into the Derby. So I don't care that his workout was really good going into it. Like I said, I think the workout angle, if we're talking about maiden races, it's a different story. But I think in stakes races, the workout angle is the most overrated angle in handicapping. And I'm someone who, my catchphrase is "damn the figure." So that puts into testament how overrated I think that workout angle is. However, Rich Strike is coming out of a career best effort, obviously, in the Kentucky Derby. The elephant in the room is that the pace fell apart in the race. And I was someone who, after the Kentucky Derby, I took the position of, he was good because, yes, the pace fell apart, but he had to be good enough to run by those horses. So he certainly gets credit, in my opinion, because he's still good. He had to beat Epicenter. He had to beat everybody else. He got a great trip. He got the Georgia barbecue he needed, but he was able to do that. And that certainly has something to it. However, Strike is not going to get that kind of pace in the Belmont. And the question will be answered. Is Rich Strike a horse that needs a radioactive pace in front of him to win, or is he going to be able to adjust and deal with something that is going to be significantly slower than he did in the Kentucky Derby? And I'm not willing to put my money on him if that's the case. If we had been talking about potentially Howling Time running in this race, which that had been something that had been circulating in the media. If Howling Time had been here, I would have felt a little bit better about Rich Strike. But I just don't see how he's going to be able to get the amount of kick that he needs to win the race. And we'll get to Mo Donegal. I also like Mo Donegal's kick better than I like Rich Strike's kick. They both have a good closing kick, but I think Mo Donegal's is a little bit better. But we'll get to that when it comes to Mo Donegal. The angle is obviously he had been on the synthetic, and Eric Reed seems to think that putting him on the dirt really did a lot of benefits for him. He talked about that in his when he was asked about it at the post draw this morning, and he said that the horse really liked getting to the dirt. So if you like Rich Strike, the Derby is probably not an aberration because the horse did really well getting from the synthetic to the dirt. So that's certainly something to think about. Obviously, he had to be good enough to beat some of the best horses in the crop to win that Kentucky Derby, but I just don't think that the race is going to set up for him. That's why I'm not really too into Rich Strike. And if anybody else on here likes the workout angle, I'm sorry to sound so condescending towards it, but personally, in my opinion, I don't care.
All right. Now, what I got to say about Rich Strike, I mean, I actually like this horse. I don't think that was people are going to say, oh, it's a fluke. I don't think so. What it took for that horse to win was just amazing. You say, oh, he just got the Georgia barbecue. But there was horses. Mo Donegal was behind him, and he didn't win. There was others behind him, and they didn't win. This horse, he was wide, too, the whole trip. And in the stretch, he went right around Messier and just went by them. Rich Strike is on the uprise. What Eric Reed was saying is how this horse's confidence has gone up. I mean, absolutely it's gone up. This horse just won the damn Kentucky Derby. He doesn't know that, but he won a race, so that's all that matters to him. He crossed the finish line first. I mean, this horse is absolutely going to love the 1.5 miles. I mean, he always comes. He just comes. And the stretch is 2.5 furlongs, maybe 3. I don't know roughly, but it's around there. And the turn is very, very long, so he's going to have time to pick it up. And he's going to be closer to what he was in the Derby. I see he's about 8, 9, 7 lengths off. I mean, I think he goes down to 3-1. I think he'll be their second choice in this race. And I think I'll probably pick him in this race. And I'll die on a hill for this horse. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's always others.
Okay. This horse is a complete toss to me. I think he's the most overrated active horse right now. He never left the rail other than, to pass Messier, who was already tiring. I'm sorry, he left the rail for a whole 2 strides. Okay, I mean, I didn't even know who this horse was until Larry Coleman said his name. Sure, this horse likes dirt. Sure, he likes Churchill Downs. The pace was fast. He had the race fall into his lap. That's not gonna happen here. He's going to have to back it up to me. And honestly, I'm not even really gonna look to him until he can back up that Derby win, because I think it was 100% a fluke.
Well, Jack, Jalen, I'm sorry. It's not. I agree with the workout angle, and I agree with what you said, Jalen, as well. I, there's a difference between a good workout and a horse just coming out of his skin. I was there live at Churchill that day that horse worked out, and this was a horse coming out of his skin, and just look. Normally in workouts, people were saying in the Belmont, "Oh, we're going to try to be closer. Oh, we've been training to be closer." This horse is showing you that he's being trained to be closer, because you look at Skippy, he's running 102 in a workout. Nest 49, Creative Minister 50, Donegal 49, Golden Glider 49, Barber Road 1 minute, which is not bad for him. But before that was a 101. Rich Strike, being there for that workout, seeing that in person, he went faster really the first 4 furlongs and just came home the same, which means to me he will be close up. He will be sitting, I think, 3rd in the first turn. And I don't think he'll have to have that kick that you're talking about in order to win this race. I think skipping the Preakness has kept him so much more fit than if he'd have ran in it. And 2, this horse in videos everywhere is becoming more aggressive, which leads to me thinking that he will, again, be closer to the lead, because aggressive horses tend to run faster early. Now, I'll also say, too, that I was actually on this horse at Turfway before the Derby. I was on him a little bit in the Derby, not like I didn't love him a ton, but to say on this horse, dismiss him, I would think be crazy. I think he'll be my pick as of right now. My only concern is the odds. Again, we're talking about gambling in this. So with the Preakness, everybody remembers Fenwick. Everybody remembers Happy Jack. No one liked them horses, yet they wound up being under 20 to 1, which is insane. So, the public money is dumb. We know the public's going to be on this horse. And I think the morning line favorite in every other situation should be We the People. I think that it should be We the People here too. I just think that Rich Strike will take the stupid public money and go off as the favorite, which kind of makes me not want to play him.
Wow, that's a take I really haven't heard yet. I know that people have been all over him on social media, and there's of course the public dumb money. Use that to your advantage on Saturday, people. Not just in the Belmont
I don't
Stakes,
mean to cut you up.
but
I
all
don't
the
mean to
races.
cut you off, Andrew. Right. I'm just going to say Dennis is right. That's going to happen.
Wow.
Also, I'm sorry to pile on here, but do you mind if I add one last thing?
Do it.
Sam, one of his points, right, was that he was talking about how everybody's saying, sure, there was a radioactive pace that collapsed, and everybody's saying that's why he won. Well, Mo Donegal was further behind him, and he didn't win. Well, guess what? Go watch the replay for the Derby. The difference maker was there is that Rich Strike took the rail, same way Mind That Bird did in 2009. Mo Donegal went to the parking lot. He was, Irad took him, 10, 11 wide, something insane like that, and he only ended up losing by, what was the final margin? I think it was like 3 1/4, maybe 4, that he ended up losing by, Mo Donegal. Okay, Mo Donegal, had he even been half as wide, he would have won that race.
Oh, that's Irad Ortiz Jr. for you. He likes taking horses wide. He also let Barber Road get first run on him, which wasn't a good idea either.
Yeah, I agree with all three of those points that you guys just made, and we'll get to Mo Donegal. Rich Strike, I'm going to give him some respect because that eye-catching closing kick was nothing. You can't ignore that. It was incredible. And if you look at Trackus, this horse did have the highest average speed in the Derby. You can't ignore that either. But when I'm talking about a guy like Eric Reed and a jockey like Sonny Leone, I don't know if this guy's ever ridden at Belmont in his life. Am I going to take him and Eric Reed, or am I going to take Irat Ortiz? Yes, I said Irat, deal with it. That's what I call him. And Todd Pletcher. Well, I'm going to take Irat and Pletcher, who got the wide trip in Kentucky. You can only be so wide in this race with the 8-horse field. I'm going to pick Rich Strike to finish third in here. I think he's a damn good horse. I just think that this is not the right time for him. I think in one way he does remind you of a Mind That Bird. A long shot who wins the Derby, runs well in the Belmont, but at the end of the day just isn't good enough. Now, Rich Strike didn't run in the Preakness, and that wound up being a good thing because there was no chance in hell he was ever going to win the Preakness with the way it's set up. But I do think he's going to run well here. I don't know if he catches a loose on the lead, We the People. I think, though, the rest of this field is just so not good that he will beat everybody else by default. That's really all I have to say. Oh yeah, and 7-2 is a terrible price on him. Just absolutely awful. And I do think he could be in the 3-1 range, which I don't see how you could possibly throw down money on that. Sorry.
I mean, for me, one more last thing. When I was at the Preakness, yes, I went to that. I was looking at the odds board, and Fenwick around an hour to post. This horse was 7-1. This horse is going to be played. If he's 7-1 with an hour to post, he went up to be 11-1. I mean, I think the horse was on his way to Baltimore while they were at the wire. I didn't know if it was conscious or not, but that's a different point. I mean, this horse is going to be 3-1 shorter than that, probably. We'll see, though.
All right, guys, we got to pick it up. We've spent 45 minutes on the first 4 horses in this race. So let's try and move on. There's really only one more horse that I want to talk about. Number 5 is Creative Minister. I just put out a tweet before we started the video. I thought number 5 was Mo Donegal. I was wrong, so I put the wrong number up. Creative Minister, I'm going to get my stuff out of the way quick. That way you guys could say it. I'm just concerned that he has to run another big race because he did run very well in the Preakness, but he's got to run another big race in 5 weeks. I just don't know if he can do it.
Yeah, he was my pick in the Preakness. I liked him a lot coming out of that allowance race going in. And, you know, Ken McPeak was talking about, again, at the post-draw today, how he was very high on the horse going into or coming out of that allowance race going into the Preakness. Or apparently the owner wanted to run him in the Pat Day Mile, so that gives you an indication as to how high these folks had been on this horse. So, you know, they were prepared to run him as coming out of a maiden race in a very tough grade too. Probably a good idea that they didn't do that, but that's another point entirely. The question with him is once again the pedigree. I don't think he's perfectly bred to get the distance of the Belmont. I don't think it's impossible, but again, I don't love him for it. He could be one of those horses that is sitting a little bit closer. Brian Hernandez Jr. moved him a little bit early down I'm not saying early in terms of it was a mistake, but earlier on in the race, he moved the horse up early. So I think he's potentially a horse that could sit a little bit closer, but he's coming out of a career best effort in the Preakness. I don't love the prospects of him replicating that career best here. He's a horse I like for the summer, but I think this might just be a little bit too much too soon for him.
I mean, for me, this horse is obviously on the uprise. He's been improving. I mean, Kenny McPeak says he's high on him, but I mean, come on, Kenny McPeak's high on every horse. That's just his confidence. I mean, I just can't take this horse at 6-1. That's just for me. I mean, he'll probably run decent, but at 6-1, I'll take others.
Yeah, I think this horse has too much to do. You know, the 3 big races in 5 weeks. I mean, yeah, he's rapidly improving, but it's going to hurt him with the 5 weeks. I mean, it doesn't help that I don't really trust Bejarano and McPeak here in these big races, especially McPeak after what happened with, Swiss Skydiver, making her run big, taking her to the Preakness so much, and look what happened to her. I just don't really trust the connections here. I don't trust the 5 weeks. I just can't take this horse, but I'd love to see him running, up at Saratoga. I'd definitely take him in the future. I think he's a good horse. Not here.
Just to say, it's Brian Hernandez, not Rafael Bejarano. Just so you know.
I'm sorry. I read somewhere that it was Bejarano.
I guess that leads it to me. With Crater Minister, McPeak is stupid. McPeak is smart. McPeak will run a dirt horse on turf, bloodstock agency stuff, so they can say placed on turf. All this is Pete getting this horse placed in the Triple Crown and trying to do it in 2 races. I think this horse will be a future Grade 2 winner. Maybe even a Grade 1 winner, because, the class level in America is kind of screwed up. But Brian Hernandez, I think, will ride him. I think he's actually maybe controversial here. I think he's probably the most likely horse to hit the board because of what I said with McPeak, and Hernandez is going to ride him to try to hit the board. He's the least likely horse out of the top 5 to win because Brian Hernandez is going to try to ride him to hit the board and not do anything else than that. Kind of like what he did in the Preakness. So, yeah, I don't think this horse is going to run a very good race other than if you're betting 3rd or 4th or maybe 2nd.
All right, everybody, now we're going to move on to the winner of the 2022 Belmont Stakes, number 6, Mo Donegal. Of course, you realize I've never said that before on almost any of my previews. I don't think I ever have. I'm more confident in this horse than I've been in any Triple Crown race for as long as I can remember. Seriously, this is a boatload of confidence I have in this horse, and I'll explain why after everybody else talks about him. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, I'm also super excited to talk about the winner of the 2022 Belmont Stakes, and I'm sorry, Andrew. I know you said that we got to pick it up, but I got to go once again very in depth on Mo Donegal. So let's go back to the Kentucky Derby. I had 3rd time I'm referencing my conversation with Jay Pridman today. We were talking about his race in context to Rich Strike's race. And Rich Strike and him were at about the same point in the Kentucky Derby. And the thing that's interesting about Mo Donegal is everything has been made about the fact that Rich Strike came up the rail. But Mo Donegal was actually inside of Rich Strike going into the far turn. And Irad Ortiz had it at Churchill Downs Derby weekend. Very, very passive in multiple occasions. I didn't talk about his poor ride on Nest in the Kentucky Oaks, but I want to talk about, and Sammy kind of referenced this, and we've talked about, him and I have talked about that on several times, that Irad let just about everybody besides Happy Jack get first run on him in that Kentucky Derby, which was very annoying. But they were at about the same point, midway or going into the far turn, Rich Strike and Mo Donegal. Rich Strike moved first, and that again, Rich Strike moved first. He got to pick the position. Now he didn't get to. Mo Donegal could have skimmed the rail if he wanted to. Irad Ortiz, for some reason, does not like to take the rail at Churchill Downs, which does not make any sense to me because you see how rail produces good runs in the Kentucky Derby. Ask Calvin Burrell 3 times, ask Bill Shoemaker, all that fun stuff. But the phrasing that I've been using throughout the entire time since the Kentucky Derby with Rich Strike and Mo Donegal is Sonny Leone zigged and Irad Ortiz decided to zag. And I think if he got the Rich Strike trip, that Mo Donegal would have won the Kentucky Derby. Mo Donegal was extremely wide off of the far turn in the Kentucky Derby. Again, they were moving from about the same point. Mo Donegal actually got a better trip going into the far turn than, excuse me, I might have said Rich Strike got a better trip than Mo Donegal. Mo Donegal got a better trip before entering the far turn than Rich Strike did. And then Leone moved earlier than Irad Ortiz did. Irad got a little passive And then at that point, IRAD decided to come from the parking lot with Mo Donegal. And that is what got Mo Donegal beat in the Kentucky Derby. Again, I've said if he gets the Rich Strike trip, he wins the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike or Sonny Leon zigged and Irad Ortiz zagged, and that was the difference between winning and running fifth in the Kentucky Derby. So that being said, now to my favorite angle when it comes to the Belmont. And I've never picked this before, but in researching and going back through the Belmont, my favorite angle is Pletcher 5 weeks into the Belmont. There are two things that Todd Pletcher is better than in the business at doing. One of those is getting colts to the Kentucky Derby. The other one is going Derby to Belmont, that 5-week break. Obviously, his 3 winners have come from that. He's had countless board hitters doing the same thing. I love Pletcher going 5 weeks from the Derby to the Belmont. Best in the business, not even close. Mo Donegal, let's get to him now. His run in the Wood Memorial was fantastic. I think early voting is the number 3 best 3-year-old in the country. Why do I think early voting isn't number 2? Because Mo Donegal beat him on the spot at Aqueduct. Andrew, we were there. And yes, everybody has said Mo Donegal got a perfect trip in the Wood Memorial. Yes, but so did early voting. Early voting got handed very, very friendly fractions in that race. And Mo Donegal had to beat him on the spot, and he did. And that is what has sold me on Mo Donegal. I've just been thinking back to that run in the Wood Memorial. It was great. And the fact that early voting came back and won the Preakness as handily as he did, that flatters the form of Mo Donegal. And again, it's difficult to screw this Belmont up. You know, and Irad Ortiz is not my favorite rider in the country, but it's difficult to screw this up because, you know, even if he wants to be wide, there's not too many horses that he's going to have to be. So if he's 3 wide, which is probably as wide as he would have to come, I'm okay with that. And Irad has his Triple Crown race win did come in the Belmont Stakes on Creator, so he knows how to ride a winning race in the Belmont. So that's certainly a plus for Mo Donegal. And Mo Donegal has just been a horse his entire career has been crying out for distance. Pedigree isn't necessarily the most 1.5-mile screamer in the world. Again, Uncle Mo isn't absolutely 100% going to get a 1.5 mile, but he is out of a pulpit mare. But aside from the pedigree, you just look at this horse. You know he wants to go the longer distances. We said on Racing Rundown that he had run 3 winning stakes races, Remsen, Holy Bull, Wood Memorial. There was no way he was going to win the Holy Bull because of the way that race set up. A 1.16 miles at Gulfstream is very difficult for a big, rangy closer type colt that was coming out of a 1.125 mile win at Aqueduct. Pletcher fortunately didn't run him in the Fountain of Youth. That fever was actually very much to his benefit. Ran him in the Wood Memorial. He got the job done there. Got the crappy ride in the Derby. Could have won. Certainly hits the board if he gets the Rich Strike trip. And like I said, I think he wins if he gets that Rich Strike trip. But he got a great, great trip going into the far turn in the Kentucky Derby. Had to go wide. Cost him the Kentucky Derby, but huge run in the Wood. He's going to win this race. He's my pick.
I mean, Mo Donegal is a horse I've always respected. I mean, people know that I picked him in the Wood Memorial. He made me some good money in that race. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, with the We the People, I mean, this horse has probably the best late kick, beside maybe Rich Strike, but they're on even terms. I think I would take Mo Donegal over him, but I just don't know with that. Because early voting in the Wood Memorial, like Jack said earlier, early voting had every right to win that race, and he just caught him at the wire, and he's gonna love the 1.5 mile. Absolutely gonna have every opportunity to run every horse down. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, this horse is clear. He took a tour of the parking lot in the Derby, still ran when he went 10 wide in the Derby while Rich Strike skimmed the rail. Horses here, you know, at most he's gonna have to go 3 wide or so. In Rich Strike, what are the chances that he gets the rail again? I'd say they're okay, but not great. You know, I mean, I think he has a better kick than Rich Strike. I think he has a better ability to go the distance than We the People. He has a better kick than Nest. I think this is the clear winner.
I think he's definitely the horse to beat. He's going to be tough in here. I would much rather take him than We the People. It's just going to be whether or not this horse can sustain that he's going to have to run about, I would think about 4.5 furlongs for him to win this race. Like you said, going into the far turn, I think the ride's going to really have to get into him, and then the horse is going to have to keep running that down the stretch. And I don't know if he's going to be able to. He should be able to, but it's he's definitely got the setup for a Belmont horse. It's just I don't know if he's going to have the sustaining power of doing it for a mile and a half, but definitely going to be a factor in this race for sure.
I think we could agree on one thing. If he doesn't hit the board in this race, I will be absolutely shocked. Like, beyond belief. Just completely unreal. Here's the thing with Mo Donegal, if you want to worry about one thing, is I don't like the immediate pedigree. And I'm not a pedigree person for the most part. I look at the sire, the dam, and the dam sire. I really don't care about anything else. I don't do any of the kind of research that Jack does. I just go by names that I know and stuff like that. That is not a mile and a half pedigree at all. To me, though, a mile and a half pedigree doesn't matter when I see what I've seen and what I saw through my binoculars at Aqueduct in the Wood Memorial. That move around the far turn, it was a sustained move. It was a sustained, powerful move. You could see him just physically getting the ground better than anybody else. Now, the one problem you go beyond the pedigree is where will he be in this race? Will he be last? I don't know. If Joel Rosario was riding him, I would think he would be last. Yes. But IRAT is riding him instead. I don't think IRAT will sit this horse last. I think he'll be a little bit closer. And I think as long as he's not last, he could still win. And even if he is last, if he's not that far behind, he could still win. I just think he's better than everybody else. We talked about the Derby. If you look at the comment there, this is not an exaggeration. This is not hyperbole. 10 wide, that is absolutely true. He made up all that ground. And I talked to you about Trackus, who had the fastest speed in the Derby. It was Rich Strike. Who had the second fastest speed? It was Mo Donegal. I don't say he ran the second best race. I definitely think Epicenter did because he was closer to the pace. I think Mo Donegal ran the third best race, but I also think this is the race that Mo Donegal's connections have been targeting the entire time. Just like early voting, he was targeting the Preakness since whenever. This horse has been targeting the Belmont Stakes forever. You just knew that this was the idea. You saw it in the Remsen last year, even when he was fighting back Zandon. And he should have came down. We have to say that again, no doubt about it. But you could see his will to get the distance. I love this horse. I think he's going to win. I don't think he'll win by a lot, but I'm pretty confident that he will win. Period.
Angel, what's your opinions on the morning line for Saturday? You see all the morning lines are out?
No, I didn't look at that, but thank you. Maybe I can print those out tomorrow. 5-2 on Mo Donegal. Maybe that's what you get with all the attention on Rich Strike and We the People. I think 5-2 is extremely fair. I'm not going to say it's good because 5-2 is not a good price on any horse. But unless maybe it's Speaker's Corner or Flightline in the Met Mile, but we'll get there in another video. 5-2 on Mo Donegal is respectable. I like that. I think that's what it should be. Number 7 is Golden Glider, who got beat 10 lengths by We the People in the Peter Pan. Except from this being the same connections trainer and actually I think that's it. Yeah, just same trainer and finishing second in the Peter Pan just like Sir Winston. Sir Winston ran a hell of a lot better race in the Peter Pan than this horse. How does this horse win?
He doesn't. That's the thing. You know, the only thing that you can find with Golden Glider is he has the same trainer. Marquez has done the Peter Pan into the Belmont before, but Sir Winston ran a lot better in the Peter Pan. I don't love the Peter Pan as a prep for the Belmont. I already talked about that with We the People, and you know there was nothing in behind We the People. And again, I think We the People's a good horse. There was nobody in behind We the People in this race. So you know, Golden Glider, if he theoretically he can, but I would be very surprised. He does not look to be like a Sir Winston. Again, I don't like to be the to say, okay, yeah, everything makes sense in hindsight, but you look back at it, it's understandable how Sir Winston won the Belmont. There's nothing with Golden Glider here to indicate that he's going to run some kind of decent race. I mean, maybe, again, there's 8 horses. He could outfinish half the field, and hitting the board in a Triple Crown race can be considered decent. But, how decent is running 4th in this race? That's his ceiling, but I don't think he's going to run 4th in here. And, again, I got nothing on him.
Oh, besides casting the Peter Pan, there's nothing really there. Good for Dylan Davis to get him out in the Belmont again. I don't remember the last time he's got one. Maybe a couple years ago, I think. Isn't he still the leading rider, Andrew? Or
I believe,
right?
yes, and he showed why in the last race last Saturday when Manny Franco was a doofus and cost our family over $140.
Manny Franco, poor old Manny. But yeah, there's nothing really to him. I mean, he was actually my pick in the Peter Pan. I liked him that day. I just don't really like him here. I mean, he's like Skippylongstocking to me. It's a filler, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with this horse? This horse he's not gonna win. He's not gonna hit the board. Hell, he's gonna struggle. To be in the top 6. I mean, he's just really not good. He's a filler. I wouldn't trust this horse in an ungraded stake. I wouldn't trust this horse against, Major General or something.
Oh, come on. How can you not love this horse? I mean, I will say this, handicap and angle I could say is, I see outside of Canada has been as cold as Canada in the wintertime. So that's not good for the horse coming in this race. He picks up Dylan Davis again, which, glad for him, like you all said. Believe it or not, he was one of my picks to actually hit the board in the Bluegrass Stakes when he ran 4th behind Zandon, Smile Happy, and Emmanuel. But that was just the perfect situation for him. He's not nowhere near any of this caliber. He might just be a allowance horse, really, if that's anything. But good for them being in here, I guess.
And finally, everybody, we're going to move on to number 8, Barber Road. Another one I really don't like. I just think he's too slow.
Yeah, I've never liked Barber Road either. And Barber Road was the buzz horse going into the Kentucky Derby. Everybody said he's going to hit the board, all that fun stuff. Now, you could say he was wide, and that certainly is fair, but this horse just does not have the ability to win races. He's closing every single time, yes, but he never gets there. Eric called him in Eric's preview for Barber Road on Racing Runner. He called him the champion of the gallop out because he gallops out really well in races, but gallop outs don't matter when you're not picking up victories in races. And he was second, third in the races in Arkansas. But number one, form has been god awful, and number 2, he's just a plotter. He is the typical Belmont plotter. Could he hit the board once again? Sure, but here's what's going to happen. The exact same thing that's going to happen in the Derby is going to happen with him. He's going to get hammered in the show pools. And, sure, maybe he is around that 10-1 range, but that's in the win pool. He's going to get hammered in the show pools because that is what Barber Road does in his races. He hits the board, so everybody's going to take that at face value and hammer him in the show pool. So I don't like him at all. I think he's a plotter, and I think that there are just better horses in here. I think he's going to be another money burner here. Wouldn't be surprised to see him finish 4th, but you don't get paid for him to finish 4th here, and I'm going to take my stand. Like I took the stand against him in the Derby, I'm going to take the stand against him in the Belmont. He's not going to hit the board.
Barber Road is he's consistent. That's for him. The one thing I didn't like is that I don't like how they took off Ray Lou. I mean, you get Joel Rosario on, but this man has known the horse a while. I mean, Barber Road just picks up money. This horse is worth $550,000 this year, but like Jack said earlier, I mean, it's no stranger that Arkansas was awful this year. I mean, awful. Beside Unoho, I don't know if you guys heard, he's with Diodora now, so you'll see that horse in the Grade One winning that by the end of the year. But that's not the point.
Sorry, that's gross. That's gross.
Yeah, the horse maybe he'll win a Grade One now. I don't know. I feel bad they took him away from Ricky, but I mean, I don't really like Barber Road. I mean, it's cool if you do, but he's just not for me.
Yeah, I mean, as a 2-year-old, you thought he might turn into something, in his 2-year-old races, just looking back at some of the replays I did last night. And I mean, looking at the Lively Shively, where he was second to Tejano Twist, he was showing some good early speed. Comes back as a 3-year-old, he's a plotter, he sucks. I mean, I don't know who's worse fighter.
I'll say this. I actually liked the horse a little bit in the Derby. I did bet the horse in the Derby very lightly, and mainly underneath. But I'm gonna be honest, some horses are sometimes built for certain races. I thought he was built for the Derby, run his best race, which big fair to the horse. He did run his best race. It's just he's not built for the Belmont. I don't think he can sustain that run, and people might think, oh, well, Joel Rosario gets on, so therefore he's going to run better. Listen, Raylu is one of the best jockeys at Churchill, at least most underrated. Raylu didn't do nothing wrong to lose this mount. And I think Raylu would have got a better finish out of this horse on Belmont Day than Joel's going to get, in my opinion. Now watch this horse win by like 5 lengths, and I sit here and say, well, I guess Joel was the right move, but it just makes me mad that they changed jockeys, especially knowing Raylu a little bit through jock agent Jose Santos Jr. But yeah, so I do think this horse can maybe win something like the Ohio Derby, but definitely not the Belmont.
One good thing you could say about this horse is he's had a lot of foundation. If you go back in history, a lot of horses who win the Belmont at a price have had a lot of starts. One problem with him, though, most of those horses had at least one start, even if it was back as a 2-year-old at Belmont. This horse has never been around New York. We'll see what happens. Unless this horse gets the Joel Rosario Gold Rail Sir Winston trip, and Sir Winston's a better horse than this horse, it's just not going to happen. I could feel pretty confident in that. So with that said, everybody, we are going to move on to the picks for the Belmont. I gave away mine already throughout the video, so I'll just repeat mine quick again. For the 15th time, Mo Donegal runs down We the People. Rich Strike manages to get up for 3rd, and Nest chugs along to be 4th with her stalking trip and good pedigree. Jack, your Belmont Stakes pick I know is the same as mine. What do you like underneath?
We're going Pletcher Exacta here. I just made the decision now. We're going Pletcher Exacta, Mo Donegal on top of the filly. I'm debating still whether or not to go with Rich Strike or Creative Minister to finish 3rd in this race. So if the others want to give their picks right now, I'll add who my 3rd is after you guys go. But Pletcher Exacta for me in here.
I had to change the heart as I texted Jack about 5 minutes ago when I was going to do this race. I mean, I just changed the heart. I'm going with Mo Donegal here. I just think he's going to be the best horse. IRAD, what IRAD has been doing the last 2 weeks is just amazing. It's IRAD though, or as Andrew calls him, IRAD, which is pretty catchy though. It is pretty catchy. What I texted Jack, I was going to go to Pletcher Exacta. I really like Ness. I've always been high on her. She'll get the distance. I mean, Red Strike's going to run 3rd, and I think We the People runs 4th. So for me, it's 6-3-4-1 for the Belmont for me.
I think I need to watch a little bit more replays, do a little more homework, but for the win, I am still between Mo Donegal and We the People. Those two are going to be 1st and 2nd. It's just what order, I don't know. I think Nest will be 3rd, Rich Strike 4th.
For me, like I said, I'm still on Rich Strike. I mean, I can't lose money on the horse, right? I bet him at 80 to 1. I bet him at win and show at 26 to 1 in the Turfway race, and he ran third and got me just about $40 back. I can't lose money on the horse at this point. I'll probably also bet an exacta here, maybe a try instead. I don't know. It's gonna be Rich Strike on Donegal on top, and then take Be the People and Nest as well underneath with them as well, and then maybe throw Creative Minister in there for third, and just hope that that horse doesn't really run because I think the horse will take some action, and I think that'll be about it. Yeah. That what was I going to try to say with this? I think that we're going to see a lot of telling signs about We the People, and I think Donegal in this performance. I mean, Rich Strike, you can't really gauge it because he did what he needed to do in the Derby, so it's kind of like he's already set in stone. But we're going to learn that if We the People and Mo Donegal is going to be legit horses moving forward out of this race.
I just came to my conclusion. I'm going Creative Minister third. So Pletcher on top of Creative Minister for the Belmont for me.
Okay, everybody. I hate to apologize here because I think we did. I mean, we talked this race to death, and we gave you chalky picks. Pretty much everybody gave you favorites. You could tell from based on what I said. I think the top four in here are the top four, and I think the bottom four in here are the bottom four. I think it's pretty easy to separate them. Jack feels a little bit differently. Maybe Dennis does as well. But everybody knows pretty much that as far as a win candidate, this is kind of more a three-horse race than anything else. It's what I've been thinking for the longest time, pretty much. And I guess three-fifths of us at least are on the sixth in here. So either we're going to be riding high. If I'm alive in the double out of the Manhattan into this race, I'll be feeling good, and I'll definitely be making a double with this one into the 12th race. And you'll see that video soon. Or we're going to look like idiots, and we're going to go down in flames. Alright, with that being said, everybody, thank you very much for listening to our Belmont Stakes preview. It was a long one, but we tried to make sure there was no stone left unturned. Anything else from anybody? Thoughts about the Belmont Stakes? We kind of spit it all out.
I just want to point out how we just talked for like an hour and 15 minutes, and everybody just said kind of the same few things about the same 3 or 4 horses.
And that goes with what I said before. We're either going to be down in flames or we're going to be sailing real high. So hopefully it's sailing real high. Thanks everybody for coming. Remember, we got videos more tonight. The Thursday preview, tomorrow the Friday preview, and on Thursday we'll have the Saturday preview for all 13 races on Belmont Stakes Day, and I'll try to make sure we breeze through this one since we just gave you an hour and a half sermon on the Belmont Stakes. So put that to good use. Pay your bills first, and may the odds be ever in your favor.